before she left for another job. Among those who did identify themselves, Gina Hutton, a former Packwood campaign chairman in Lane County, who says Packwood kissed her forcefully and invited her to his hotel room. Jillian Butler, a former desk clerk at the downtown Portland Red Lion Inn, who says Packwood kissed her without warning. Lois Kincaid, accosted, she said, at a Central Oregon fundraiser. And Gail Rothrock kissed, she said, as Packwood drove her home after babysitting his children. Packwood was said to be en route to Oregon today, but on Friday, when he showed up at a White House ceremony, he may already have been aware the new allegations were about to break. The Post says he declined several times to be interviewed about them, and he refused to comment to News 8 about any aspects of the official probe.
Well, I think answers to those now are better left to the Ethics Committee.
Reacting to the latest story, Packwood's lawyer James Fitzpatrick says, while we sympathize with the pain these women are expressing, the appropriate place to respond was before the ethics panel.
We've got to see what are the specific concerns of the committee as the investigation goes forward, and we'll have, I'm confident, an appropriate response to any charges the committee might have.
Packwood got some moral support from his Republican leader, Bob Dole. He called the latest accounts a rehash of old stories, and he blamed Democrats for fanning the flames against Packwood.
Judge Roberts, always in the news, it's always Judge Roberts. She ran against Packwood as a Democrat in 1974. That never makes the news. So much of it is, in my view, instigated by partisan interests.
Now, Dole said Packwood already admitted to a drinking problem. That's something Packwood says he will not use as an excuse for his behavior. Dole said that whatever the findings of the Ethics Committee, Packwood should not resign or be forced out of the Senate. Back to you, Nancy.
Tom, what does the Post say about his staff warning Packwood to stop the alleged behavior?
Well, on 2 occasions, 2 separate women say that they advised members of Packwood's staff about these advances. In one case, the former aide said, well, we've been warning him repeatedly, or words to that effect. That aide now says he doesn't recall that conversation. In the second case, the aide was Elaine Franklin, his current chief of staff, and the woman says that she gave details to Elaine Franklin at her request. Franklin said she has no comment to the Washington Post about that report.
Thank you, Tom Ackerman, reporting from Washington, D.C. Texas Senator Phil Gramm is also taking a wait-and-see attitude. On this morning's edition of Meet the Press, the Republican lawmaker said if there was a clear link between Packwood's behavior and the employment status of the alleged victims, it would be a serious matter.
I haven't looked at the details of the charges. I think everybody realizes that they're serious. Most of the charges are not contested by Bob Packwood. I don't have any doubt about the fact that the Ethics Committee is going to look at it in a comprehensive manner. They're going to make a proposal to the Senate. I think the full Senate will vote on it, and I think the full Senate will take action on it.
A respected political scientist here in Oregon says these new allegations will likely force Packwood to resign. Professor Rustin Darrow of Pacific University says it's no longer a question of whether Packwood will resign, only a matter of when. News 8's Pat Doris has local reaction to the latest series of allegations. Pat.
Nancy, Professor Don Darrow says these new allegations change everything, that Senator Packwood is already damaged goods and losing clout every day.
Howdy. 2 weeks ago, Senator Bob Packwood said he would not resign because he was still an effective senator for Oregon and not distracted by the allegations against him.
Does it affect you? Sure. I mean, does it deter what you're doing in the Senate? It does not. But fortunately, it takes relatively little time, and the lawyers handle the bulk of it, and you go on with your normal business.
But now that an entirely new group of accusers have come forward, political scientists in Oregon say Packwood will find defending himself a full-time job.
No, I don't think he can do his job. He's going to be consumed with spending time with his lawyers, going over his testimony before the Ethics Committee, dealing with these questions when he's in the state, facing demonstrators of every town and village and hamlet that he goes to.
Meanwhile, a staunch supporter of the senator dismissed the new allegations.
I think it's a sad day when we trash due process and publish in the newspaper statements that were made, perhaps allegations that were made by individuals whose motives we don't know about and who may be misleading the public.
But one of Packwood's fiercest critics said he's embarrassing Oregon and himself and should resign.
If true, this is akin to serial assaults, that he is just setting up women constantly in a position where he has the opportunity to assault them.
Dondero, the political scientist, thinks Packwood may be tough enough personally to face continued protests like this one 2 weeks ago in Corvallis, but he believes Packwood is hurting the Republican Party and that the leadership will force him to resign.
Yes, I think it's a question of when, not if. And I think, it may be 6 months, it may be a year, but at some point, some seasoned veterans in the Senate and in the Republican Party are going to sit down with Senator Packwood and say, look, it's time to go and try to go as gracefully as possible.
By the way, the Senate ethics investigation against Senator Packwood is continuing. News 8 has learned now that the Senate investigators were in Portland 2 weeks ago and interviewed at least one person who filed an ethics complaint against the senator. Nancy?
Thank you, Pat Doris. We would like to know now what you think about the latest allegations against Senator Packwood. So here's tonight's People Poll question. Should Senator Packwood resign? Give us a call at 733-5888. If you think Packwood should resign, press 1. If you think Senator Packwood should stay on the job, press 2. Again, the number to call is 733-5888. It is a Portland number, so if you live outside the metropolitan area, you will have to dial a 1 first. We will repeat the numbers 2 more times and have the results in about 45 minutes. Amidst the latest accusations, Senator Packwood is returning to Oregon. It's his second visit home in just more than a week, and the second since the original allegations surfaced. This time, Packwood will visit Eastern Oregon. He's expected to arrive in the Ontario area tonight, where News 8's Walden Kirsch is standing by live. Walden, do you think these latest allegations will intensify the protests expected there?
Too early to tell at this point, Nancy. We've just arrived over here, and that's, of course, the big question looming. A little bit of background first. We're here at Farewell Bend State Park. This is Oregon, behind me the Snake River, and Idaho off in the distance. This is, of course, a historic point in Oregon history when the people crossed the Oregon Trail. This is the point where they knew they were almost in Oregon. For Bob Packwood, it means something a little different. As you mentioned, it means that he'll be back for the second time in 2 weeks and hoping, as you folks mentioned, to diffuse, hopefully, for him, the controversy that's swirling about him. The question which we don't know at this point is exactly what kind of a reception he'll get here in Eastern Oregon. Of course, we were following him earlier 2 weeks ago in the Willamette Valley. Reception not always friendly over there. We don't know what the reception will be like over here. He has a fairly busy schedule for the next 3 days. We have a list prepared for you. Tomorrow, he'll be in Ontario at a noontime Chamber of Commerce meeting, then on to Baker City, where he'll have a public forum, then on to La Grande, then finally to Dalles. One thing we're all going to be watching for, Nancy, is that some of these meetings are public forums, and it'll be our first chance, our best chance to gauge exactly how the folks here in Eastern Oregon take the latest series of allegations against Senator Packwood. Nancy?
Thank you, Walden. We'll look forward to your reports this week on News 8 at 5. In other news, a portion of the Alder Creek Lumber Company on Sauvie Island is reduced to rubble after a spectacular fire early this morning. The flames tore through a huge 100 by 300-foot building being used for storage. Even before crews arrived on the scene, they knew they were in for a battle.
Portland Fire Bureau got a call that there was an explosion and the whole mill on fire, and when they got to the top of the St. John's Bridge, they called for a second alarm. They could see it 150 to 200 feet in the air.
About 100 firefighters fought the blaze for more than an hour, and mopping up continued into the late morning. Damage is listed at $750,000, but fire officials say it could have been even worse.
You always have a problem in a lumber mill, sparks landing on top of the lumber and catching it on fire, and the firemen made a great job of stopping it and keeping the fire just contained to the building itself, but the building itself is a total loss.
A heavy east wind also sparked concern the flames might spread to the main mill, but officials credit quick action by the David Campbell fireboat with keeping the blaze from spreading. The cause of the fire remains under investigation tonight. The congregation of a White Salmon Washington church got a bit of a scare this morning. A fire broke out in the church's attic during this morning's worship meeting. Members say they left the building after hearing a crackling noise coming from the attic of the church.
We ran out and inspected the furnace area, and then we could smell the smoke.
No injuries were reported, fortunately, and church members believe they will be able to use the building for future meetings. Fire officials are still looking for the cause of that fire. A man crashes the gate at the 3 Mile Island nuclear plant. You'll see that story next in this news hour. Be forewarned, there's a new ordinance that could get your car towed if you don't have the right papers with you. And later on News 8, a preview of a television time warp.
Now for an interesting change of pace.
If the routine would go a little long, I would suddenly be in there saying, meanwhile, in another part of the forest, Lord Grimthackle said, and then Goldie would come on dancing in a bikini or whatever it would be.
This edition of News 8 is closed captioned through a generous grant from Smith's Home Furnishings, because nobody cares like Smith's.
This is Ivan Smith with a story.
For about as long as anyone can remember, Channel 8's been a part of Portland, giving you a picture of the day's news clearly and accurately. It's a tradition we're proud of, a responsibility we don't take lightly. Now, that tradition continues with the newest addition to our news team, Steve Abrams with Tracy Berry. Each weeknight on News 8 at 5 and 11. Why not watch us work for you?
I'll never forget being burglarized. It was devastating. I felt violated, and I was mad. They took sentimental things insurance can't replace. I no longer felt safe in my own home. I'll never forget. I just never expected it in my neighborhood. I could have done something. Now I know that I could have done something to help stop it.
Call 800-2-BRINKS now and save $50 on Brinks Home Security. Call now before it's too late.
If you love eggs, but cholesterol has put you on a low-fat diet, here's a way to turn that diet sunny side up. Introducing Eggland's Best. Eggs from specially fed hens. Like ordinary eggs, they contain cholesterol. Yet in clinical tests, people ate 12 Eggland's Best eggs a week as part of a low-fat diet and showed no increase in their serum cholesterol. Try Eggland's Best. Your cholesterol-conscious diet can now have a sunny side.
There's no time to think about it. Smoke jumping's never a sure thing. You've got wind shifts, trees, smoke, and once you're on the ground, you can spend weeks on a blaze, tired and covered with soot, and still looking forward to the next jump.
You probably don't worry about diving into smoky skies, but every job has its risks. That's why half of Oregon employers choose Safe Corporation as their workers' compensation insurance company.
Every job has a downside. That's the best part of mine.
On the job, that's safe.
Hey, Cookie! Sure hope you're better than our last cook.
If you want something good in a hurry, try KFC's Chicken Fried Steak. 100% beef in crumb breading with cream-style gravy and all the fixings for only $3.29.
What do you think, boss?
Where'd you learn to cook this good?
Oh, it's something I picked up along the trail.
KFC's Chicken Fried Steak, favored by good cooks everywhere. Only $3.29.
A man is now in police custody after crashing his car through a gate at the 3 Mile Island nuclear power plant. Police say Pierce Nye was arrested inside the turbine building, which houses electrical generating equipment. Nye spent 4 hours inside the Pennsylvania plant before being taken into custody. A police spokesperson says Nye told authorities he acted alone, he had no explosives, and did not tamper with anything. County medical officials say Nye was released last month from a psychiatric facility. The plant was operating at 100% capacity throughout the incident, and a plant official says there was never any danger of a radiation leak. Some Chevy and GMC truck owners are trying to drive home a point of safety with General Motors. Paul Willer of Hillsborough does not drive his truck much since 300 other people died when their gas tanks ignited. This week, a jury ordered GM to pay a Georgia couple $105 million in damages for the loss of their 17-year-old son. And Willer hopes the judgment will force a recall.
Like most Chevrolet owners, I don't want to give up my truck. I like my truck and I want to keep it. But I think the fact the mistake was made, they should correct the mistake and replace the tank with one that is safety approved.
Willer wants the company to install crush-proof gas tanks to protect owners. GM is appealing the jury's decision and opposes a recall, which could cost the company $500 million to $1 billion. Beginning tomorrow, a new city law goes into effect that could prove costly to any driver in Portland. Drivers must now carry proof of insurance. If you don't and you're pulled over by police, your car will be towed. If that happens to you, but you actually do have insurance, the city will reimburse you for the cost. But if you're not insured, you'll have to buy coverage before you can get your car back. The new law affects not only Portlanders, but anyone driving in the city. Poverty continues to be rampant in America, but the Northwest is doing relatively better than the nation as a whole. 13.1% of all Americans are living below the poverty line. That translates into more than 31 million people. Almost 12.5% of Oregonians and nearly 11% of Washington state residents are living in poverty. Looking at some of the prominent Oregon figures, Wheeler County has the highest percentage of poor, almost 21%, while Washington County has the lowest at just over 6.5%. Multnomah County, which contains the state's most populous city, matches equally with the national average percentage, but actually has the largest number of poor in Oregon. That figure is more than 74,000 people. This week, Beaverton parents tried to break a log jam. Their crisis, contending with deep cuts in Beaverton schools for Measure 5, while still getting their kids a balanced education. As News 8's Ann Jaeger reports tonight, the volunteers are looking for innovative ways to save schools.
Today it's a game of basketball. Tomorrow it's back to school for 3 of the 4 Brennan kids. Their parents moved here to Beaverton because of the schools.
I want really, really good schools. Not prestigious, not elitist, not filled with silly frills, but I want good, solid schools.
But Beaverton schools are taking a direct hit, cuts of $60 million in 3 years. They'll get rid of some teachers, staff, and administrators, then some coveted extras. Student activities, athletics, band, orchestra, librarians, nurses, and driver's ed would be cut. Beaverton's new superintendent from San Antonio, Texas, asked volunteers here, such as Terry Brennan, to find new ways to keep those programs, like corporate sponsorship.
We can help businesses as well as businesses helping us. Intel and Tektronix and several others that are very interested in this project.
Here's just one way corporate sponsorship can work. In San Antonio, Burger King gave $250,000 to start a center for teenage dropouts. In 3 years, the dropout rate dropped substantially, from 1,500 students a year down to 45. What parents of these Beaverton kids can't pay for, they'll lobby for, and they promise to give lawmakers like Tom Mason an earful, lobbying for school funding.
What do you think?
Mason went to McKay School this week for a first-hand look at how cuts will hurt kids. Cuts that might drive away taxpayers, parents who support schools, families like the Brennans.
I'm going to fight like crazy.
The Brennans and Beaverton schools will have a powerful lobby behind them. Ann Jaeger, News 8.
Those volunteer groups looking for new ways to provide programs in Beaverton schools meet this Thursday. So far, corporations have expressed interest in helping the schools, and just how that will be done will be decided by those volunteer groups. Well, it was another unusually warm day for February, and just ahead, Jack Appel will tell us what's in store for tomorrow. Also, a story about how to build an igloo to save your life, literally. And in sports, a 4th straight loss for the Blazers.
Why is the Northwest such a great place to live?
Urban green spaces are one lush reason.
Channel 8 and Portland General Electric invite you to be on Earth Alert.
Are you ready for love? Take Good Evening's Cupid quiz to see. In your search for the perfect mate, you look for A, personality, B, nice bod, C, money. You'd like your proposal to be A, non-existent, B, quick and dirty, C, romantic. Would stories of wedding day disasters make you A, nervous, B, apathetic, C, curious? If you answered C to all of these, you got a C Good Evening. From finding a millionaire to proposing in style, Good Evening gets you set for this thing called love, starting Wednesday at 6:30.
That's the way mealtime began back then. Fresh off the farm and full of flavor. That's the way it still is today with Western Family. And now in your freezer, our new Western Family microwave box.
Light. It is the first element of creation. Nothing brings it more elegantly or shapes it more beautifully than Anderson windows and patio doors. Come, live in the light of Anderson windows. Come home to Anderson.
This More You Know message is brought to you by Smith's and KGW TV.
So you think you want to drop out of school? What kind of a job do you think you'll be able to get? And what if you can't find one? Or the only one you can pays minimum wage? Dropping out is a decision you'll regret the rest of your life. Think about what you'll be giving up. It's your future. Use your brain and stay in school. The more you know about what's available for dropouts, the more you'll want to stay in school.
Lancome Research announces new Neosome Plus perfected age treatment. Perfection in a daily defense against tomorrow's lines and wrinkles. Perfection in the renewed fight against the future signs of aging. New Neosome Plus perfected age treatment. Prevention.
Perfection.
Lancome Paris. La Belle Beauté. Your gift with any 1750 Lancome purchase. You'll find it at Meyer and Frank.
You got to question the credibility of Puxatawny Phil the groundhog. Didn't he say 6 more weeks of winter?
Well, they're getting it in the Northeast. I'll tell you that. Punksy was just right on it there. Yeah, we had some record lows set in the Northeast, but not here in the Northwest. We're setting some record highs for the day. Not here in Portland, however. Those east winds pouring through the Columbia River Gorge. We had a nice sunny day today. Plenty of fresh air, too, I'll tell you that, with that east wind blowing up to 40 miles an hour around Troutdale area and blowing about over 30 miles an hour much of the Portland area. And the temperature right now at Portland Airport just 51 degrees, and there the wind east 22 miles an hour at 5 o'clock. Fairly dry air to just 54% relative humidity. And the high today did not quite reach a record for the day. It was 56 degrees, but there were some spots in the Willamette Valley that did, also in western Washington. And the low this morning was down to 42 degrees. And here's the map showing the line of cloudiness just offshore from us, and that cloudiness is going mostly into California and extreme southern Oregon right now. Now eventually we'll get that low pressure area that's out there to the southwest of us moving a little bit closer, and this will circulate a little moisture into the Pacific Northwest, but it's going to be rather slow to do so, so we'll get through most of tomorrow without much change in the weather until late in the day. Now, with that strong east wind caused by a very strong high-pressure area east of the Cascades, lower pressure to the west of us, very strong east wind gusting up to, we would say, 60, 70 miles an hour in the Columbia River Gorge, and on the west side, as we said, around 30 miles an hour in most of the Portland, Vancouver area. Notice California, they'll be right in the line of that next line of cloudiness coming in, and moisture associated with it. So heavy rain in the southwestern California, particularly, and in all of the Sierras, they'll have heavy snow. In the northeast, that cold air continues to pour down there, and over northern Michigan, there were some spots where they're getting snow and freezing rain today, but some of the temperatures in the northeast today, 44 degrees below zero at Morgan, Vermont, 40 below at Enosburg Falls in Vermont, and here are some records in the northeast. Those others weren't records for the date, by the way. 14 below at Albany, New York was a record. Portland, Maine, down to 16 below. Montpelier, Vermont, 28 below. And New York City, 7 below, all records for the date. And these temperatures that you can see in the northeast, there's Buffalo only 32 for their high. 1 degree below zero was a high at Montreal. And here are the temperatures around the Portland, Vancouver area, mostly in the middle 50s. 58 there at Camas, one of the higher readings. 55 here in downtown Portland. Over Oregon and Washington, away from the cool east winds, temperatures did rise a little higher, though, the sunshine today. Salem up to 63, 63 also at Olympia, Washington, both records. 64 at Seattle along the coast, 67 at Tillamook, and most of the rest of them were in the 60s. 68s at Coos Bay and also at Brookings and east of the Cascades. Quite a variation, 30s, 40s, and there's 33 there at Burns, one of the cooler spots. And the lows this morning, east of the Cascades down to 20 at Burns, but 42 at Portland Airport, mainly because of the air being stirred around so much by the east winds, but down to 30 at Salem. Over the west today, not nearly as cold over Alaska. They probably will get cold again later in the week, but 5 below, one of the lower readings there at Fairbanks. That was their high. And for the jet stream we expect on Tuesday, most of that upper air pouring into California to carry storms into there. Here in the northwest, we're close to a low pressure area on Tuesday, so we will bring in a little bit of rain at that time. Not much tomorrow. It'll be all sunshine tomorrow, then going into increasing clouds late in the day. And later in the week, we could see some more rain. That'll be toward the end of the week. but that east wind should continue. And the Portland-Vancouver forecast then, clear tonight. Strong east wind, low about 40. For tomorrow, look for sunny, increasing clouds late. About tomorrow night, we say most likely high 57, continued east winds. Pete Parsons will talk more about it in just a few minutes.
Okay, thanks, Jack. Remember the snow? Well, here in the West, snow can be a lot of fun, but that fun can easily turn to disaster. Tonight, reporter Reese Stein takes us to the mountains of Utah to show us what to do if we're ever lost in the snow.
Well, if you want to build a snow cave, you need some snow, preferably about 6 feet deep, although you can build a snow cave in a little shallower snow if you use the right techniques.
John Varanth is an author of backcountry touring books and conservation director of the Wasatch Mountain Club. John and club member Mike Buddig burrowed into the snow and were out of the elements in less than an hour. We speeded things up a bit to fit our time constraints.
Build your entrance low, and then work your way up at an angle, and then build your living chamber up inside on a shelf above the level of the entrance. That way the warm air stays inside and it holds the heat. And then as you cut it, you want to build an arch. You always want to dome the entrance tunnel, dome the roof of the chamber. That does two things. One is it has the strength of the arches, just like the arches in southern Utah. Plus, once you've arched the roof, as water melts, it'll drip down the sides and won't drip down on you. Inside the snow cave, it'll generally hold right around 32 degrees, much warmer than outside. Even if it's 20 below outside, it'll quickly warm up with your body heat to around freezing temperature.
If it was really blowing windy at night, I'd partially close up the entrance with some snow blocks or my pack, so that would help keep the wind out. And this would be very warm and comfortable, either in an emergency situation or a recreational situation to spend the night in.
And that was Reese Stein reporting. And the Blazers seem to have dug themselves into some kind of rut or a hole or something.
It's been really bad for the last week and a half. They just can't seem to get it going. The Portland fans were hoping to see big things from the Blazers today. Instead, they saw a lot of Michael Jordan and company. Jordan had another big game, and the Bulls win it by 10. The final score, 101-91. As usual, the fans were pumped up for the big showdown. It was on national TV, and Blazers head coach Rick Adelman had a nice new piece of gum, and then Michael Jordan gets off to a good start. He knocks down the three-pointer. Moments later, Jordan goes up, gets another three-pointer. It was 21-12 in favor of Chicago. But then Jordan misses. The Blazers get the rebound, and then it's Clyde Drexler doing his thing on the other end. A thundering dunk. But Clyde was held to 14 points today and 7 of 20 shooting. But watch this shot by Clyde at the end of the first quarter. But they don't count it. They said it came after the buzzer. Bulls led 28-18 after one. Second quarter, Jordan with a fabulous move, and he scores with the left hand. That's worth another look. Down the middle, tongue hanging out, goes to the left hand around, and scores the bucket. Blazers Rod Strickland 18 points, and here he hits the little scoop shot in the lane, but the Bulls were up by 10 at halftime. And in the second half, more of Chicago. B.J. Armstrong spots for three and hits. He had 17 points, and then Jordan with another great move down the middle for the dunk. He had 34 points. Cliff Robinson had 19 for the Blazers. He hits a three-pointer here and scored 5 straight points to pull the Blazers within 8. The Bulls going to win it 101-91. They hand the Blazers their 4th straight loss and their 3rd straight at home. The Blazers' longest home losing streak in 4 years.
I think we're out of sync as an offensive unit. I think, you know, like I said before, I've been blaming it on the defense, but I think the defense has actually been pretty good. I think the offense needs to come along.
Can you sense that they're a frustrated team right now?
Frustrated and not playing well. You know, a little confusion there. You know, just really don't have the offensive output that they have had the last couple of years. And defensively, you know, they're suffering.
Well, they certainly are. Meanwhile, Orlando superstar Shaquille O'Neal put on a full-scale Shaq attack in Phoenix today. The Magic took on the Suns in a game seen right here on Channel 8 early in the first quarter. Watch O'Neal closely under the basket. There's a mess. He goes up for the rebound, slam dunks, and actually pulls down the basket. O'Neal broke the support that holds up the backboard. He's 7'1", weighs 300 pounds. A Suns official said O'Neal's weight broke a piece of the support system. They had to replace the entire support, and the game was delayed more than a half hour.
I just went up, you know, through, hung on the rim a little bit, and, you know, I felt the thing come forward, and that's why I ducked and, you know, started running, because I thought the whole thing was coming down, and it just popped out of place, and it never went back up.
Shaq had a big first quarter, but fouled out with just 20 points, and he had 5 rebounds. Meanwhile, the Suns ran wild behind Charles Barkley and Richard Dumas. Charles at 28, Dumas 31. The Suns win it 121-105. Two other scores in the NBA, Boston beat Golden State, and New Jersey held off Milwaukee by 3 in Milwaukee. The world of sports is mourning the death of former tennis star Arthur Ashe. Ashe died yesterday of complications of AIDS. Ashe contracted the virus 9 years ago during heart surgery. I talked to NBC announcer Magic Johnson today before the Blazer game, and as you know, Johnson is HIV positive. Magic did not want to be interviewed, but he did issue a statement. He said that it was a very sad day, not only for the sports world, but the entire world in general. Magic called Ashe one of the best men of his generation. Ashe was a tremendous tennis player. He won the U.S. Open in 1968. Then in 1975, he became the first black to win the singles title at Wimbledon. Tennis star Jimmy Connors lost to Ashe during that final, and Connors said Ashe had a style all his own.
Well, he didn't take it lying down, did he? I mean, he was out doing things and making his point and taking care of his business till the end. And I guess that sums up everything that he stood for.
Boxer Riddick Bowe must be feeling like $1 million tonight, or maybe I should say more like $6 million. That's what Bowe made for his first title defense. He's the world heavyweight champion. Last night he took on Michael Dokes in Madison Square Garden in New York. The 25-year-old Bowe grew up in Brooklyn, so he was fighting in his own backyard. The bout was over in a hurry. Less than 90 seconds into the fight, Bowe stunned the 34-year-old Dokes, and a short while later, Bowe was pounding on Dokes again, and after a barrage of about 20 punches, the referee finally stopped the bout at 2:19 of the first round. Bowe is now 33-0 with 28 knockouts and a very big wallet. And Australia's Brett Ogle fired a final round 71 to win the Pebble Beach National Pro-Am by 3 shots over Billy Ray Brown. The 28-year-old Ogle is playing his first season on the PGA Tour, and he wins with a nice putt here. He was pretty excited about it. So excited, he got down and kissed the green, the 18th at Pebble Beach. Ogle will get $225,000 for the win. There's the kiss right there.
Chicken feet compared to the $6 million in the fight, but hey.
Well, actually, it's over $6 million, maybe 7. It depends on all the receipts and the television stuff, but not too bad.
Like I said, not bad at all. Thanks, Joe. A top news story summary is coming up on this Sunday edition of News 8, including the newly reported allegations from 13 women against Senator Bob Packwood. Also, a story about a school with such a foul smell that the teachers refused to come to work.
The side of youth sports most parents never see. Coaches who fulfill dreams and others who create nightmares.
Monday night at 7. Come for the magic. Come for the memories. Come to see your kids' faces light up the ice at the all-new Walt Disney's World on Ice. February 24th through 28th at Memorial Coliseum. KGW TV and Fred Meyer invite you to save $3.50 on KGW TV Family Night, Wednesday, February 24th at 7:30 with a coupon available at any Fred Meyer store. A portion of the proceeds will benefit the Portland Police Sunshine Division. Tickets are on sale at the box office and all Ticketmaster outlets, or call to charge by phone.
Escape to a bold wonderland of love. The Beautiful Music Company proudly presents the Romance Album with 40 passionate songs of love. And here they are.
It isn't fair for you to taunt me.
This album has never been offered before.
How can you make me care this way again?
Return to real romance with a showcase treasury that will leave you breathless.
You're breaking my heart 'cause you're leaving. You've
40 great stars, 40 giant hits. Send now to the Romance Album.
If they made me a king, I'd be but a slave.
Your fondest dreams will come alive.
To spend one night with you in our own right.
Here are songs that will set your heart pounding.
There's no
This is a glorious treasury of love. Send now to the Romance Album. You get 40 passionate love songs on 3 records or 2 cassettes for only $19.98. 2 long-play CDs for only $24.98. Be sure to order now.
If you are just joining us tonight, here's a recap of our top news stories. Senator Bob Packwood is returning to Oregon amidst new reports of sexual misconduct. 13 more women have come forward accusing him of making unwanted sexual advances toward them dating back to the late 1960s. Packwood is receiving support from his Republican leader, Bob Dole, who says the latest accounts are a rehashing of old stories and that he should not be forced to resign. A respected political scientist thinks the latest allegations will force Packwood to resign. Pacific University's Russ Dondero says the senator is hurting the Republican Party and that local and national leaders will likely ask him to step down. Dondero does not expect that to happen for 6 months or a year, but says it's unlikely Packwood will survive politically. A huge 3-alarm blaze has destroyed a building at the Alder Creek Lumber Company on Sauvie Island. The fire lit up the sky early this morning. 100 firefighters with the aid of a fireboat spent more than an hour bringing the flames under control. Damage is estimated at $750,000, and the cause remains under investigation tonight. Topping our News of the West segment, investigators in Washington State may have made an arrest in the string of more than 100 arson fires in the Seattle area, but their work is far from over. 27-year-old Paul Keller has been charged with only setting 3 of the fires, but authorities believe he is responsible for many more. Roberta Romero reports.
Yeah. Elizabeth Henderson says she'll never forget the fire that almost destroyed her home.
And this bench, I had a sleeping bag over it to protect it, and it was ablaze. It was just going, just like this, just like that. The flames were just really going. Then I noticed my car. See, here's my car. And then my car, see, that's it. I have my car, you know, and I got in my car and drove it back.
Fire investigators say one of the 3 charges Paul Keller was arrested on was for the fire at Henderson's home on November 2nd of last year.
Because I'd like to ask him why he did it, but he has to be. I feel that he's been hurt. He may be hurt inside to want to hurt other people.
Keller is also charged with this fire at Stuber's Distributing in Snohomish County, also on November 2nd of last year. Fiberglass siding next to a sliding door was deliberately set on fire. The final charge on Keller comes from this New Year's Day fire at an Everett warehouse. It was here that investigators spotted shoe marks in the snow around the building. The type of shoe is sold at only 2 places locally, and on February 3rd, investigators spotted Keller wearing the same brand of shoes that matched the prints. At the press conference, the task force says they believe Keller